Okay, so both of these numbers are inside numbers. They're both up under the radical symbol, so we can multiply them together. 18 times 72 is 1,296, which, yes, if you type that in, you will see that it is a perfect square. It's 36, because 36 times 36 is 1,296. Now, when I did this first period, I wasn't taking my own advice. You know how I taught y'all to always type it in the calculator first? I sat there and did a factor tree and got all these numbers, and then at the end realized that every one of them got circled up, killed, or kicked out. And then I was like, well, crap, that was a waste of time. It's a perfect square. So make sure you always type it in first. Now, some of you may have decided that before multiplying them together, you wanted to simplify each one. Did anybody do that? Okay, I see a couple of hands, so let's show you how that would work. 18 is 9 times 2. 9 is 3 times 3. 2 is prime, so it just drops. We circle our set of 3s, kill one, kick one out, and put the 2 back inside. Then we simplify the square root of 72, which is 8 times 9. 4 times 2, 3 times 3. The 4 will break down one more time, and then bring down the other 3 numbers that are prime. We have a set of 2's and a set of 3's. The only thing not paired up is that 2, so it goes back inside. One of each of them gets killed, one of each gets kicked out, putting a 6 on the outside. But remember, we're still multiplying these. So outside numbers multiply together. 3 times 6 is 18. Inside numbers multiply together. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. But then we all know that the square root of 4 is just 2, and 18 times 2 is 36. So really, it probably was easiest to go with this route. Multiply them first, then simplify. Okay? But either way you did it, you would have got 36. Okay, now turn to page 5 in your packet. Lucy has been assigned the following linear equations and inequality word problems. Help her solve each problem and include the following: defining the variable, setting up an equation or inequality, solve the equation or inequality, and then make sure your answer to the question, or make sure you answer the question and that the question makes sense. I think that should say the answer makes sense, honestly. Okay, number 1. The sum of 38 and twice a number is 124. Find the number. Okay, well, what does sum mean? Add, right. And so in the place of and, we put plus, remember. And what are we adding together? 38 and twice a number. How do we write twice a number? 2x, right? Because that's the number, and then times 2. And then is 124 means, right. So there's your equation for that statement. Now we need to find the number, which means we need to solve for the x. So what would we do first? Okay, I heard too much. What did y'all say? Okay, we don't have to, but that's fine if that's what you learn in middle school, but we don't have to do that. What's the first operation we need to do? We're trying to get x by itself, so what needs to move to the other side first? Actually, the 38. This is a positive 38, so to get rid of a positive 38, don't you just subtract 38 from it? Because that's 0. And whatever you do on one side, you go across and do it on the other. So now on this side of the equal sign, we just have the 2x because the 38's gone. We subtracted it away. But on this side, we now have 124 minus 38, which is 86. Now to get x by itself, we need to move what to the other side? The 2. Well, they're being multiplied, so how do you get rid of the 2? divide by 2. Those cancel out because 2 divided by 2 is 1. And do we really have to write the 1 beside the x? No, it's understood to be there. And so now 86 divided by 2 is 43. And so the number is 43. If you add together 38 and twice 43, which would be 86, it'll add up to 124. So it makes sense because 38 plus twice 43 will add up to equal 124. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? All right, number 2, I want you just to put down your pencil for a second and watch me do it, and then I will give you time to copy once I'm finished. But I really need you just paying attention while I do this problem. Okay, the sum of 2 consecutive integers is less than 83. Find the pair of integers with the greatest sum. Okay, well, the first keyword is sum, so we're adding together 2 consecutive integers. Integers have to be whole numbers, and they have to either be positive or negative. So I need 2 numbers, 2 whole numbers, and add them together, and they need to be less than 83. Well, how do you write is less than? This way, right? Because remember, if you do your head like this, it looks like an L for less than. Less than 83. Okay, well, this is where it gets a little tricky. What are the very first 2 consecutive integers that you know? Positive consecutive numbers. 1 and 2, right? Oh yeah, we need to talk about consecutive. Consecutive means like in a row without skipping or back to back. You know how like when you're hearing about a sports team, they'll say they had 3 consecutive national championships? That means like 3 years in a row, no skipping years. Well, consecutive integers would be like not skipping any integers, not skipping any whole numbers in between. So these 2 numbers have to be back to back, like 40 and 41, or 39 and 40, or 29 and 30. They can't skip. Well, if I call 1 x, then 2 would just be x plus 1. Okay, let me say that again because I know that's confusing. If I say that I'm going to assign 1 the variable x, so you got to look at this x and think 1 in your head, okay? Everybody look at the x and think 1. Isn't 2 just 1 plus 1? So it's x for the first integer plus x plus 1 for the consecutive integer after that. 1, and then 1 plus 1 is 2. But now I need to combine these like terms. X plus x is 2x plus 1 is less than 83. Okay, that's the hardest part, what I just did. Now I just need to solve for x. So what do I do first? Minus the 1 to get it away from the x. And then 2x is now less than 82. And now I just divide by 2 on both sides to get it away from the x, and x is less than 41. Okay, go ahead and copy that, and then I'll finish it out. Everybody copy that. We got x is less than 41. So x would need to be what number? What's the first number less than 41? 40. And so the next number right after 40 is 41. Right, because you add 1 to 40 and you get 41. And then is that less than 83? What is 40 plus 41? 81. And is it 81 less than 83? So those are your 2 numbers. Those are the 2 integers that had the greatest sum that is still less than 83. Like you couldn't have used 41, because think about it. If you had used 41 in the place of x, this would have had to have been 42, and 41 and 42 add up to 83, and 83 is not less than 83, it's equal. So that's why you have to go with 40 and 41 for it to still be less than 83. Okay, can I move to number 3 now, or are you still copying? Okay, number 3. A rectangle is 12 meters longer than it is wide. its perimeter is 68 meters. Find its length and its width. Draw a diagram. Okay, so I'm going to draw a rectangle like it suggested. So go ahead and do that on your paper. Nudge your partner if they're not paying attention. Okay, a rectangle is 12 meters longer than it is wide. Its perimeter is 68 meters. Find its length and its width. Okay, well we all know with a rectangle, the longer side is the length and the shorter side is the width. Do we currently know anything about either one of them? We know that it's 12 meters longer than it is wide, correct? But we don't really know how wide it is, do we? So I'm going to call the width x, because I have no idea how wide it is. It's unknown, so we use a variable. So if I call the width x, what could I call the length? Well, isn't the length basically the width plus 12? Okay, let me say that again. The length is 12 meters longer than it is wide. So if the width is x, the length is how wide it is plus 12 more. What? Okay, it is perimeter, which means you add up all four sides. So if this side is x plus 12, the opposite side is, because with rectangles, opposite sides are congruent. And then if this side is just x, the opposite side is. Now, like Angel was just saying, it's perimeter. So we add up all four sides. So you'll be adding up the x plus 12 plus x plus x plus 12 plus x. Okay, I just added up all four. And they should add up to equal the perimeter of 68. Okay, now I just need to start simplifying by combining like terms. Can anybody tell me what I get when I combine those like terms in this? Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 x's plus 24, because positive 12 and positive 12 is positive 24. And then bring down the equal 68. Now we just have a two-step equation, so now what do I do? Right? We're trying to get that x by itself, so we're moving things away from it by inverse operations. Those cancel each other out because 24 minus 24 is 0, leaving just the 4x. And then on this side, 68 minus 24 is 44. Okay, now what do you do to get that x by itself? Divide by the 4. And the reason x is by itself now is because 4 divided by 4 is 1, and it's not necessary to write the 1, so it's now by itself. And 44 divided by 4 is 11. Okay, so go ahead and take time to get that copied, and then I'll finish out the problem. Okay, because the ultimate goal is to find the what? The length and the width, and so far we only have one number. It is the x, so it is the length or the width. Right, that is the width. Okay, so look, if x equals 11, we called the width x, so that's just 11 on both sides. Well, the length would be the 11 plus 12, which would give you what for the length? 23. Now remember, at the top of this page it said make sure your answer makes sense. Does 23 plus 11 plus 23 plus 11 really add up to a perimeter of 68? 23 plus 11 plus 23 plus 11. It does. Okay, we ready to try number 4? Okay, let's look at number 4. The length of a rectangle is 4 centimeters more than the width. and the perimeter is at least 48 centimeters. What are the smallest possible dimensions for the rectangle? Draw a diagram. Okay, so first draw yourself a rectangle. Okay, then if you want to watch while I do this and copy at the end, you can do that. I'll give you time to copy after. I know, but it's a teeny bit different. It is similar though. The length of the rectangle is 4 centimeters more than the width, and the perimeter is at least 48. So we currently know nothing about the width. So for the width side, I'm just going to put X. And with a rectangle, the opposite sides are congruent, so this would also be X. For the length, they do tell us that the length is 4 centimeters more than the width, so the length would be the width plus 4, correct? Okay, now they want us to find perimeter, which means we add them all up. So that would be X plus 4 for the first side, plus X plus 4 plus X. Now, let's talk about what is at least means. If you go to the mall and your mama says you're going to get to spend at least $48, what does she mean by that? You're going to get suckered if you don't know what that means. If your mama says you can spend at least 48, she means you can spend how much money? 48 or more. At least 48 means at the lowest 48. Okay, at the least means at the lowest, so 48 or more. Well, how do we write an inequality sign that represents 48 or more? Greater than or equal to 48. Okay, remember, this is the greater than sign because when we turn our head, that does not look like an L, does it? So that's the greater than sign. Now we need to combine some like terms. So on the left side of this inequality, what do these combine to be? Right, there's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 4x is there. And then what do these two constants combine to be? 8. And then bring down greater than or equal to 48. Okay, so now we need to solve for x. So what would we do? Correct. We want to start moving everything away from the x. So we start by subtracting the 8 so that that will cancel and be 0. But with equations, they have to be balanced. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So now I have 4x on the left side, and then what on the right? 40. Now to solve for x, what do? Divide by 4, and so x is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, if I tell you x is greater than or equal to 10, what's the very first number we could use for x? No. X is greater than or equal to 10. 10. Think about it. The very first number we could use for x is 10 because greater than or equal to 10 means 10 and up. So we could call the x's 10, and then we could call the length 10 plus 4, which is 14. And remember, they wanted the smallest possible dimension. So we wanted to use the smallest possible number that was greater than or equal to 10, and that's 10. And now, what do those four numbers add up to be? And is 48 greater than or equal to 48? Yes, they're equal. So those were the smallest numbers that would make your perimeter at least 48. It's exactly 48. Okay, now once you get that copy, turn to the next page, number 5. I'll give you like a minute to copy that. Okay, we good? All right, number 5. Where'd it go? There it is. All right, find 3 consecutive integers whose sum is 171. So we're looking for 3 numbers whose sum, which means they add up, to equal 171. Well, they have to be consecutive, and remind me what that means again? Right, back to back to back. So, like, what are the very first 3 consecutive numbers you know? 1, 2, 3. But obviously, those are not the 3 numbers we're looking for because those do not sum up to 171, do they? But they can help us create the equation. Like if I call 1 x, I would need to call 2 x plus 1. Because remember, when you see x, you have to think of it as a 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And so 3 would be x plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. So now I'm going to add those up, and they sum up to 171. So now I combine like terms. What do these become when I combine the like terms? Plus 3. And that's 171. So now what do I do? So 3x now equals 168. So that's what you get when you take 3 away from 171. And now what's the last step, Ty? How do we now get x by itself? We're right here. Divide by 3, right? Okay, so x equals 168 divided by 3, which is 56. Okay, now remember, x is what we called the first term. So that would be 56. So the next number would be, right, and then 58. And now check and make sure those really work. Is 56 plus 57 plus 58 really 171? Yes. Okay, so go ahead and copy it, and then I want you to start number 6 on your own, but look, even. This time it's got to be even integers, like 2, 4, 6, 8. So just start it on your own, and then we'll go over it. All right, number 6, find 4 consecutive even integers whose sum is 244. Even means like 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, you do even numbers and not skip any. Consecutive means don't skip any. But obviously, those are not the 4 we're looking for because those 4 do not add up to 244. But they can help us create the equation. Like if you assign the variable x to the 2, so look, when you look at x, you think number 2. Wouldn't 4 be 2 plus 2? And 6 would be 2 plus 4? And 8 would be 2 plus 6. Does that make sense? And now we want to sum them up, which means add them up. And they add up to 244. So now we start by combining like terms. And what do you get when you combine the like terms? 4x plus 12, because you have 1x plus 1x plus 1x plus 1x, which is 4x. And then 2 plus 4 plus 6 is 12. And now what do we do to solve for the x? Right? And so 4x equals what? What's 244 minus 12? 232. And now what do we do to solve for the x? Divide by the 4. And so x equals 232 divided by 4, which is 58. Okay, but remember, that's just for x. X equals 58. So that would be the first number. The next number is 2 more, which is 60. The next number is 4 more than the 58, which is 62. And then the last number is 6 more than the 58, which is 64. And those are 4 consecutive even integers. And if you add them up, 58 plus 60 plus 62 plus 64 does equal 244. So those are the right numbers. All right. But hey, even if you were doing odd, it would be this same equation because it would be x, like it would be 1, 3, 5, 7. So this would be x plus 2, this would be x plus 4, and this would be x plus 6. So you'd still have the same equation for odd because you're skipping one each time. Okay. We got 2 more problems that I want to get done before we have our break. Number 7, Alex has twice as much money as Jennifer. Jennifer has $6 less than Shannon. Together, they have $54. How much money does each have? Okay, the way I start this problem is I write down like A for Alex, J for Jennifer, S for Shannon. And then I think about what they've told me. Alex has twice as much money as Jennifer. Jennifer has 6 less than Shannon. Who's the only one that I know nothing about? Shannon. So I'm going to call Shannon X dollars. Shannon has X dollars. So if Shannon has X dollars, Jennifer has how many dollars? So in that X, however much Shannon has minus 6, Jennifer has 6 less than Shannon. Well, if Shannon has X dollars, Jennifer has X minus $6. And then Alex has twice as much as Jennifer. Well, this is Jennifer's amount, and you twice it. Okay, let me explain that again. We have Alex, Jennifer, and Shannon. They told us nothing about Shannon's dollar amount, so we're going to say Shannon has X dollars. We know Jennifer has 6 less than Shannon, so Jennifer would be the X dollars that Shannon has, but 6 less. And then Alex has twice as much money as Jennifer, so you just take Jennifer's amount of money and double it. You have to put parentheses though, because we're not just doubling the X, we're doubling the whole thing. Shannon's money minus 6, which is Jennifer's. Now, it says together, which would be the same as all together, which is adding. They have $54. So if we were simplifying this, what would we do first? If we were asked to simplify this, what's the first thing you need to do? Right. And what do we do over here? Which is what property? Distributive property. Okay? Good job, Ty. All right. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Then bring down the plus x minus 6 plus x equals 54. Okay, now what do we do? Well, but first we want to combine like terms. Like you want to add together, combine together any terms that are like 2x, 1x, and 1x. 4x. Yeah, 2 here, and then 1 here, and 1 here. Then we want to combine the constants. Negative 12 and negative 6 combine to make a negative 18. And then equals 54. Now what do we do? Plus 18 on both sides. So now we have 4x equals 54 plus 18, which is 72. And now to solve for x, what do we have? Okay, so 18 is what? Right. How much who has? Shannon has, because she was just the regular x. So $18 is how much Shannon has. So that would make Jennifer have how much? 12. 6 less than Shannon would be 12. And that would make Alex have how much? 24, double what Jennifer has. And then does that make sense? Is 24 plus 12 plus 18 really 54? Yes. Okay, so go and copy that, and then we'll get number 8 started. I do not like this day. It's so annoying. Okay, is anybody still copying? Anybody still copying? Okay, let's move on to number 8. There are 3 exams in a marking period. A student received grades of 75 and 81 on the first 2 exams. What grade must the student earn on the last exam to get an average of no less than 80 for a marking period? How do you do average? Average is the same thing as mean, and how do we do that? Okay, what all are we adding up? Whoa, not 80. That's what they want their average to be. We don't know the 3rd exam yet, right? That's what we're trying to figure out, what grade they must earn on that last exam. But we add them up, divide by how many exams there are, which is 3, and they want to make no less than an 80. What does no less mean? So 80 or higher, which is greater than or equal to. Okay, we'll solve this when we come back. All right, so we're trying to get an average. To find an average, you add up and you divide by how many there are. Well, they told us there are 3 exams. The first exam was a 75. The second exam was an 81. The third exam is unknown, so we put an X. But we're averaging, so since there's 3 exams, we divide it by 3, and we want our average to be no less than 80. So we want it to be an 80 or above, greater than or equal to 80. Now that we have it set up, we just solve. Any idea how we would start solving for X? You could do that. You could go ahead and combine these. What do those combine to be? 156. Okay, now what would we need to do to solve for X? Well, look, it's already divided by 3. So, you did what? Oh, this? Okay, you could do that, and then did you cross multiply or something? Let me see if that works in a few minutes. Let me finish it this way. I'll finish it this way, and then I'll try it the other way. Okay, you need to multiply by 3 to get the 3 out of the bottom, and then you multiply this by 3. Okay, because remember, it was divided by 3, so the inverse operation is to multiply by 3 on both sides. Now we have 156 plus X is greater than or equal to 80 times 3, which is 240, right? Now to solve for X, what do we do? Right, subtract 156 on both sides. And so X needs to be, that's the third score, needs to be greater than or equal to what? I think it's 84. Okay, so the third score on the third exam that you take, you must make greater than or equal to 84 for your average to be no less than 80. Does that make sense?